Okay.
Hey, today we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about the mitzvah of challah. You ready?
Got it.
Okay. So the first question is, when do you take the mitzvah of challah? Is it when you harvest the wheat or when you make the dough?
Dough.
When you make the dough, very good. And what are the two ingredients that you have to have in dough once to be chayav, that you have to go start taking dough, take the mitzvah of challah from?
Flour and water.
Okay, very nice. And who do you
But
give?
you have to mix it. Otherwise, if you to give it to the kohanim, you have to mix it first. Otherwise, you give it when it's fully bred.
Very good. So who do you give it to?
Kohanim.
And could the Kohanim just use it however they want? What do the Kohanim have to do with it? Could they give it to any? Who could they give Kohanim give it to?
Only their family.
Is there any exceptions?
Yes. If his daughter got married to a non-Kohanim, then he can't.
And he can't have it.
Give it.
Very good. And what happens if a non-Kohen eats some of the challah?
On purpose or by mistake?
Good question. On purpose.
Then he'll get kares.
Get kares. Okay. And what happens if he eats it by mistake?
Then he just has to repay it with 1/5 that more.
Very good. And what happens if a Kohen eats some of the tameh challah?
On purpose or by mistake?
On purpose.
Kares.
Right. And he does it by accident?
He just says sorry.
Just says sorry. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and so what is the amount of challah you have to take? So
1 out of 24.
So 1 out of 24 you take, and is that
for a household?
For a household.
And for
for let's say a bakery.
Okay, he has to give 1 out of 40. 148.
Right, it's their abundant, but deraisa, how much do you have to take?
A teaspoon.
Okay, and today when all challah is tameh, do you have to take 1/24th and 1/48th?
1/24th. No. 1/48th.
Very good, very good. So there are 5 kinds.
Because we don't want to since we don't have any kohanim, we don't want to just burn any more than we have to. So we're going by the.
Right. So there are 5 kinds of grains that go into making the dough. I'll say 2, you say 3. I'll say spelt and rye. Wheat.
Oats.
Barley. Okay. And what happens if you make grain, let's say, out of corn? Would you be chayav to take challah from that?
No.
What happens if you're making the dough, but you make it for, let's say, an animal? Do you have to chayav take on that?
What?
You make dough, but for an animal.
No.
What happens if you? What happens if you take some flour and some water, but you don't mix it? Do you have to take on that?
Some flour.
Flour and water, but you don't mix it.
Can I say this already?
No.
I did.
Just say it.
Okay. Since you don't mix it, you don't have to give any dough, but once you cook it, you have to give it a.
So if you bake it, but what happens if you make like Jacques Noon? You bake like.
You don't have to give it.
How come?
Because it's not for the purpose of bread.
Right, it's not for the purpose of bread. Very good. So is it mitzvah deraisa or derabanan to separate the challah?
Mitzvah.
Is it deraisa or derabanan to separate?
Deraisa.
Deraisa where?
To separate?
Yeah.
In Israel, it's deraisa.
And
anywhere else, derabanan.
Right. Do you have to say a bracha on it?
You have to start bracha anywhere.
In Eretz Yisrael and in? Very good. And how much dough do you have to take? How much dough is there that you have to actually say to separate challah from? How much dough do you have to make?
They got an average size cup. No, let's see.
Like how many eggs
like
worth?
40 eggs.
Right. And what happens if you take like 30 cups worth? Do you have to separate from that?
If you do it on purpose, yes.
Right. And what happens if someone makdishes the grain, the challah to the Beis Hamikdash?
Then they don't have to give any because they're still doing it for the same cause.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much. That's it.